Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for attending the section. I am Thule, the Director of Academic Research, and I'm so excited for this section because it's the first research talk series organized by my office. We name it Research in Focus, simple and short, easy to remember. And the aims of this series is to create a platform where faculty, staff, and student comes together to share their research, to exchange ideas, and to build connections that transcend traditional academic boundaries. So each section will have two 20 minutes presentations from two speakers, following up with the 20 minutes question and answer from the audience. If you have more questions, please drop the question in the chat and the speaker will get back to you after the section. And I'm so happy to introduce our first two speakers of the section, Mark Rakov and his amazing team for the project impact of AR and VR on student engagement. And then we have Irene Torres-Arends with the topic from deficit to contradiction, a child-inspired model to support international student success. So, and here you see as QR scan. If you would like to share your research, engage with researchers, faculties, and staff at Yorkville, please scan the code and contribute to future events. And now, the stage is yours, Max.
All right, thank you too. Am I audible?
Yes.
Awesome. So then allow me to share my screen and then we can start. You can share the screen. Oh, sorry, you can see the screen, right? Awesome. All right. Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for being here. In this presentation, I would like to introduce you to the project our team has been working on since the beginning of this year. Our goal is to investigate the impact of virtual reality on student engagement in higher education. While teaching and learning methods continue to evolve, keeping students genuinely engaged is becoming an even bigger challenge than before. We have to compete for their attention with various mediums and content creators who has brought their content production to the levels of quality never seen before. Traditional teaching methods such as lectures and slide-based demonstrations often fail to provide the level of interactivity our students require. That's where emerging technologies can offer dynamic and hands-on learning, helping us drive student engagement. Those are, of course, our assumptions drawn from current programs and the literature review conducted of the topic. But while the potential is exciting, there's still not enough empirical research on how these tools actually affect student engagement, participation, and learning outcomes in structured academic setting. And that's the gap this research is aiming to address. My name is Max Rakov. I'm serving as the principal investigator for this research and also the program chair for the postgrad program in virtual and augmented reality. I'm working alongside Jay Lodaya, our research assistant, who has been instrumental in ensuring this project's success and keeping everything on track, and Dr. Robert Bajko, our co-principal investigator, who brings deep expertise in data analysis. We're also fortunate to have strong leadership support from across the university, and I would like to thank our sponsors who provided academic support, infrastructure, and all the necessary access to make this project happen in Ontario campus. Dr. Angela, Dr. Leonard, and the program chair for BID program, Reem Habib. Thank you so much for your support from the very beginning. And I know Reem is here with us, so thank you, Reem, for joining. We're also collaborating with two fantastic faculty partners that were involved in this project from the very beginning. Professor Ahmed Ghalib from the BID program, who's helped us connect research with real classroom practice in design, and Professor Marco Bertuzzo from the liberal arts program, who was actively engaged in building our first Yorkville Metaverse campus. That is something exciting, and I look forward to sharing more about it. And then Marco also contributed his insights around design thinking, digital culture, and student engagement. Lastly, I would like to thank Thu Lee and Wendy and John for their fantastic support and also for the opportunity to present this project for you today. Now, let's take a step back and look at why this project matters and why we think it's a relevant topic to explore. Research indicates that extended reality tools that include VR and AR enhance student engagement, emotional connection, and understanding, particularly for complex and real-world topics. Institutions like Stanford have proven that VR boosts motivation, self-efficacy, and interest compared to traditional 2D formats. With the rise of AI-powered XR platforms, learning is becoming more personalized, scalable, and inclusive than ever before. And this isn't a future trend, it's already here. Many universities in Europe and the increasing number of innovative universities in North America are using immersive tech in some form. These are some successful use cases that we found in all over the world, but also there are more use cases that we can find in Canada, like the University of Laval and the University of Calgary, and the number is growing. So at the heart of this project, there are two guiding questions. Does integrating VR technology in the curriculum actually improve students' learning experience and engagement on campus? But we also wanted to go beyond novelty and really understand, is this making a meaningful difference? So to support that, we also asked a secondary question. How does using VR in the classroom impact engagement and comprehension, especially when compared to traditional teaching methods like lectures and 2D design tools or 3D design tools? Together, those questions are helping us evaluate not just the excitement factor, but also actual educational value of immersive learning. Before we move forward, let's first agree on the semantics we're using in this research. AR stands for augmented reality, where digital elements are layered onto the physical world, typically through smartphones or tablets. You probably all heard of Pokemon Go. That's a good example of augmented reality. Virtual reality refers to fully immersive experience, the experience that fully immerses users in a computer-generated 3D environment using headsets like MetaQuest 3, and those are the headsets we purchased for campus to use in this research. And then mixed reality blends both worlds together. Initially, we had planned to explore both AR and VR as part of the study, but after a deeper evaluation of available tools, resources, and the faculty curriculum needs, we made a strategic decision to focus entirely on VR. It offered the most immersive experience, it fit better with our learning goals, and it was more feasible to implement at this stage, especially for courses that require strong spatial understanding. We had three objectives in this project: to assess the impact of VR on student engagement, to compare VR enhanced learning outcomes with traditional on-campus methods, and to develop recommendations for integrating immersive technologies into curricula. For that, we employed a structured multi-phased research approach. Each stage was carefully designed to align with academic standards while ensuring practical implementation within the classroom environment. We began by shaping the research framework and ensuring the technical infrastructure, headsets, platforms, and software. All of this was in place before we started the project. Before introducing VR at the pre-intervention evaluation, we gathered baseline data from students and faculty using interviews and observations. This helped us to understand the experiences with traditional learning tools in a traditional classroom. Then we piloted VR component. Those components were different in different courses, and we'll talk more about it. But for Marco's class, for Western art class, we created a prototype of immersive experience aligned with course outcomes, and Marco will speak more about how we're going to navigate that experience with the students. And then again, there was a development phase that allowed us to build all the VR experiences that are tailored specifically for the courses that we've selected for this research. After post-intervention evaluation, and once VR is implemented, we either conducted or will conduct again the follow-up interviews and classroom assessments to evaluate shifts in engagement, in comprehension, and in confidence about the content and about the learning process. And last but not least, in the end, we will analyze all the data and prepare the report that we will share internally, but also externally through presentations and academic publications. So again, now let's talk about the courses we've selected for this research. We've selected two courses. Digital rendering, the course offered to students in BID program. Data collection is completed on this course, and we are moving into a data analysis phase. And then we selected Western Art, Renaissance, and Contemporary, the liberal arts course. We will be collecting post-implementation data for this course in the coming term. Everything else is already prepared for that. So how did we evaluate, or how did we assess those courses before the implementation of VR technology? We gathered COX evaluations, course syllabi, faculty and student feedback, and conducted classroom observations to better understand how learners engage with the content using conventional or traditional methods that are currently in use. This kind of provided us a baseline for later comparison of the effect of immersive VR technology, but it also gave us an idea on how we can implement VR technology in the classroom to make a difference. So why, you're probably asking already, why have we selected those two courses? Well, first, digital rendering is a hands-on skill-based course where students already work in 3D. However, the experience is limited to viewing designs on flat screens so far, which is normal. We saw a clear opportunity for VR to enhance spatial understanding, realism, and critique depth by letting students actually walk through their own designs. Let's say students are asked to create an interior design, and with VR glasses, they're offered an opportunity to get themselves inside of that space and analyze their design from that point of view, which is completely different. And there was a lot of learnings on the way as we were experiencing that environment. And then Western Art is a lecture-based course. It's more of a theory-driven course with slide presentations and instructor-led discussions. And Marco is a fantastic instructor that engages students from the moment they walk into the classroom. However, because it's more a theoretical course, students often struggle to connect with distant historical content. When we talk about pyramids, if we've never seen pyramids in our life, it's a bit harder to understand the scale and the whole essence and the value of this piece of art. So we wanted to explore how VR could boost engagement, can help us and help Marco support visual storytelling and make abstract or remote material feel more tangible and more meaningful. We also chose these courses because both instructors were enthusiastic about trying new approaches, and the student groups included a diverse mix of domestic and international learners, giving us a variable insights into cultural differences and also different comfort levels with digital tools. Every innovation, I keep repeating this over and over again, every innovation starts with people. So it is very important to find supporters that would be as engaged into the project as the key project people are. So together, those courses offered us two contrasting yet complementary environments to assess, and allowed us to look at those environments from different perspectives. In the next few slides, we'll walk you through course-specific implementation steps and the data we gathered so far. We highlight the distinct approaches taken for digital rendering and Western art. We will share insights from student engagement, and we will explore what worked and what we've learned and what necessarily didn't work or didn't work as we expected it to work in each case. And I'm going to start with digital rendering course. Back to the slide.
Hello, everyone. The following couple of slides, we'll be talking about the data gathered, specifically about the digital rendering course. This longitudinal examination was conducted on campus at the Steeles campus in Ontario, spanning over 2 terms. And we gathered information or gathered data about the student engagement from the pre-implementation. This was before the VR glasses were implemented, and then post-implementation. This was after the VR glasses were implemented in the classroom. As you can see from the slides, these are some of the pre-implementation highlights and some of the post-implementation highlights. When it comes to the pre-implementation highlights, so this is before the implementation of VR glasses, students found the engagement high with the hands-on demos, with the one-on-one support, as well as the peer collaboration. However, students found this challenging because of slow PCs, as these softwares require a lot of power. They also found it difficult with overloaded with dense lectures and difficulty and limited visualization. Students had difficulty visualizing what they were designing. When it comes to the post-implementation, these are some of the highlights. Students felt that they're very engaged, remained high throughout the whole term with the VR implementation, but also varied at certain levels. There's also an improved spatial awareness, design, reflection, and confidence. So as students were designing these virtual rooms, because they were able to be inside those rooms, their confidence level gained, and they were able to master their content better. They also described VR as like a video game. So there was a fun aspect to the VR implementation. As well, most recommended that the expansion of VR in other courses as well. This slide presents the preliminary analysis of the collected data. Two sets of data were gathered. The survey administered before and after the implementation of VR and post-implementation interviews with students to obtain qualitative insights. As you can see from the slide, students reported a more realistic spatial understanding of the course content following VR integration. They also described feeling re-energized and more confident in their abilities. Notably, students began to self-identify design flaws rather than relying solely on instructor feedback, indicating increased autonomy in their learning process. Higher levels of collaboration were also observed as VR allows students to gain real-time insights into their design work. The only reported drawback was minor discomfort associated with prolonged use of VR headsets. Overall, these findings align with Kearsley and Schneiderman's active learning models, suggesting that VR can actively enhance engagement, autonomy, and collaborative learning.
All right, thank you, Rob, for this virtual walkthrough. Ahmed, over to you.
So I would like to thank Rob, Max, and Jay for giving me and my students the opportunity to be part of this research group. So emphasizing on what my colleague Rob just mentioned, the engagement as in general was high. At first, when we start this experiment, we start first, of course, installing the VR plugins. We faced some technical difficulties. I would say this is the only disadvantage of this, some kind of the whole experiment. But the student feedback was very, very positive. If you go to the next slide, Max. So what the student will be able to see is what you can see in this video, is basically instead of looking at a screen, they will have a POV perspective, point of view perspective. They will feel, you can see from their experiment or their feedback, they will say that they feel that they are inside the space or stepping inside the model. So they felt that they step inside their built environment. So if you play the video, Max. So this is what they will be able to see when they rotate their head. This is what they will able to see, what they built. So you can see, they can feel the space. They can feel the texture, the material, what they are building. And this was, of course, very, very positive feedback. And to be honest, it's expected. VR experiences are very engaging, very interesting for someone experiencing them for the first time. I would like to also to add that 10 students were totally volunteered to be part of this research experiment. So in general, the whole feedback was very, very positive. So where we go next, what we can improve. So if you go next, Max. So what we are doing now in the ID program, we are launching, I will speak on behalf of Reem, we are launching the new program next week. There is a party, I think it's the 7th of July. I'm not exactly sure when it is, but there is a party, please join us. In this party, we are implementing the same software SketchUp, but we are using also a plugin called Twinmotion. Twinmotion, you can see it's more realistic. It has a more realism and renderation of the whole space. They are the same softwares, but you can see that the Twinmotion is more engaging, give more realistic look. It's even the shadow and shades you can see in the lighting is more immersive, and of course this will give a more engaging experience with this for the students. We are trying, this is the thing, something to look forward to, is we are trying to engage the VR Oculus basically goggles into our new project, into our new program, into the new Twinmotion, and that's something I'm hoping me and Max and Jay will be able to do for the next part. And basically that's the whole experiment. And thank you again for giving us the chance to do something like this. Over to you, Max.
Thank you, Ahmed. So now let's switch gears to the second course we included in our study, Western Art, Renaissance to Contemporary. Unlike the digital rendering course, which focused on technical skills and 3D modeling, this course offered a more traditional theory-based format. It provided a valuable contrast for our research, allowing us to explore how VR could support student engagement and comprehension in a lecture-driven and sometimes content-heavy environment. We are yet to collect post-implementation data, but the trial runs and immersive workshops are already demonstrating some promising results. For the Western Art course, we plan to even broader integration with our immersive learning tools, 360-degree videos, and metaverse environment. First, we introduced 360-degree video content directly into the curriculum, allowing students to virtually explore historical sites. The entire workshop was led by Marco, the instructor who's been teaching this course for years. We created a metaverse environment, which is not only a part of this research project, but also our first attempt at building the Yorkville Metaverse campus. So to test these tools, all the workshops we conducted them with students, we conducted them with our on-site staff, was to assess functionality and to gather preliminary user feedback. We wanted to make sure that everything we're doing makes sense, everything we're doing is intuitive and user-friendly. And as shown on the images on the slide, Professor Mark is using a 360 video of the pyramids to engage students in the interactive discussion, part of the early test session. So again, because our research focuses on contemporary art, but we've conducted a workshop and we will pass it over to Marco to speak more about his experience and his perspective. But the workshops were conducted with a different course, which is still an arts history course, but that course covers the period from prehistoric to Gothic times. And one topic that was selected for this particular workshop was the topic on Egyptian pyramids, which is very exciting, but also one of the topics where you want to be in the space to really feel the scale of the pyramids. So I'm going to pass it over to Jay now.
Thank you for the opportunity, Max. So the entire aspect of this project has been to explore immersive technologies using augmented and virtual reality, which is to just engage and enhance student engagement. With the example of Art 110, which is an art history tutorial, we redesigned the learning experience using the MetaQuest 3 headsets paired with Spatial I/O as our virtual platform, and also with the help of 360 videos. To make it accessible, we ensured students could either join in via a whole VR experience format, as you can see in video number 1, or via a browser or a mobile, as you can see in video number 2, creating a hybrid experience that worked for different comfort levels. Now, when we're talking about virtual reality and the use of headsets, there is a health risk to it. A very minute one, you might feel dizzy, you might feel a little bit of discomfort. But having that hybrid setup does provide a little bit of, edge to what the student can access and hit that accessibility criteria. We next, for the Art 120 course, we built 2 themed virtual rooms for course content from units 1 to 5 and another one from units 6 to 10. These included embedded media, artwork walkthroughs, and interactive spaces, something which you will see in the following slides. For onboarding and implementation, we have developed onboarding guidelines, set up headset sign-up protocols, ran short tutorials to help students familiarize themselves with the space. While there were initial hiccups with the entire setup, like students might feel like they'll feel like they're in a game, and they might try to use the tools like a game. So it might take a little bit of time to get them a hang of it and get them back to the academic atmosphere. But as soon as students adapted themselves, they were really excited to explore the content in a new way. And you could see from the next slides the feedback we got from students. But that's it from me, Max.
Thank you, Jay. And over to, yeah. And this is the slide that kind of demonstrates the entire progression of how we started building the metaverse environment, the virtual space. There were a few iterations. This is not something that comes naturally. And certainly this is one project that requires professional developers. And for that, we worked closely with ITVR graduates, students who graduated from ITVR program this year. And the goal of that space was to replicate and support curriculum that was adopted for Marco's class. So we started with the whole process followed the traditional design process. So we started with kind of understanding the problem and understanding the faculty need, and then we created few options, a few versions of mood boards to make sure that our space is fully aligned with Yorkville brand guidelines. We really wanted to make sure that the space feels like Yorkville space and nothing else. And then we identified the key milestones, the key points of interaction that were critical to establish for students once they get inside the environment and once they commence the learning process under faculty supervision. And I'm very excited to pass it over to Marco, who will share his perspective, as he was integral to the entire process, helping us identify the critical components of the metaverse environment, provide a design critique and design guidance, and also established certain criteria to how create the environment that would meet student needs and student needs as broader user needs.
Hi, thank you so much, Max. Yes, so if you could play this video, you can see a little demonstration here of the metaverse space that we've created, this Yorkville branded space. And what we've done here is we've essentially created little nodes throughout this space that represent different units within this art history course. So as the virtual student here walks through this space, they can encounter these pieces of historic art at the proper scale with a very incredible resolution, with a really lovely lighting to it. And when you're in the VR space with this, with your headset on, it can create an extremely strong impact to the viewer. It does take a little bit of like Max said, it does take professional developers to set up this space. However, once this space has been created, it is something that we can rely on again and again and again, semester after semester, to continue to provide high quality, extremely impactful content to the students. Can you switch to the next slide for me, Max? Thank you. Yes. So, sorry, one more, Max. Yes, so the two media types that we have been experimenting with in my class so far, as Max has already said, we've experimented with the 360 video approach, specifically with the tutorial that we ran on the Egyptian pyramids. And the great benefit to this 360 video approach is that it's extremely easy to set up. You know, it's just renting the headsets, throwing them on, having the students navigate to YouTube, which is something that are already extremely familiar with how to do. And when the students are in this experience, because it's already like a 360 captured video and not a computer rendering, there's an incredible verism to this video. You know, you're actually in this place. There are other human beings walking around. And that means that there's some extremely high impact visuals that these students get. We had run this instance after I had already been speaking for 2.5 hours about the pyramids and why they're important and why these students should care. It's hard to sell the monumental scale, quite literally, of these buildings on a slide projector. But as soon as the students had the headsets on, within 10 seconds of them being in the video already, the classroom was full of these gasps and oh wows, and you could tell that the content really started to sink in as they started to realize, oh, okay, like this is a cultural monument. The scale, the grandiosity was really sold by this very lightweight approach. The other really strong benefit of this lightweight 360 video approach is that because these videos are normally between 3 to 10 minutes long, which don't require any actual moving around by the student, it's very easy to control, and it minimizes the potential felt discomfort from uneasiness, especially as the students can pop the headset on and off to avoid this. If the students aren't able to engage with VR, they can also bring up these 360 videos on their laptops to scroll around, and so can the instructor at the head of the class. So there's no worries about anyone being left out because there's no headsets. And then the part that I found extremely engaging is because the students cast what they are seeing through their headsets onto their phones in front of them. I could walk around and see what the students are seeing, and as students would point out, like, oh, what's that? I can immediately respond by saying, oh, that's the northern entrance, or that's the Temple of Karnak, and stuff like that. So you really get to walk them through this space. The other media engagement that we've created, like I was saying, is this spatial VR environment. There is this high initial cost of investment because we must get professional developers to make this space. However, once it's made, it's infinitely reusable. This is a non-diminishable resource that we have. Yorkville University can use these spaces to host virtual lectures. We can present things inside of them. We can change them whenever we'd like. So becomes an extremely adaptable resource that we can have. And because we are constructing this resource, it can adhere quite closely to our given curriculum and provide a great amount of consistency. Also, because we are donning the VR headsets, students don't have to join in VR. They can join in just from a laptop screen and run around like a video game. But as an instructor with a headset, I can actually use my hands and my gestures and my gaze to help almost physically present within the space, gesture towards the paintings, lead people around the virtual environment. And I also believe that by continuing to make such high quality resources and provide them on the internet, I think that Yorkville has a great opportunity here to be a vanguard and leader within this space, as there aren't already too many existing resources that would be competing with us. I think this is a great opportunity to elevate our brand as a university. The next slide for me, Max. Thank you. So the challenges really are, if students have never used VR before or they need to set up the content, it can be a little bit complex, and the gamified experience of it can be a little bit distracting if students are unfamiliar with that. But that's usually just like a one-time thing at the beginning of the course. There is some hardware issues always when we're working with technology. However, the extremely high student engagement and eagerness for this, I think, immediately offsets that. And the amount of affective experiential learning that we're able to provide to these students, having them in a room and understand the scale of these buildings or the complexity of these paintings, or to see things contrasted against each other is well offsets the potential challenges. And I think there's enormous rooms for next steps, including creating more resources that we can explore, and even hosting VR field trips and taking students to see all of this content in quote unquote in real life, so that they can truly understand it in a much more profound way. Thank you.
Coming back to the data dissemination report and what we have learned so far, behind the scenes, making this work has been a lot of planning and logistics. We have managed to roll out 10 MetaQuest headsets across 2 10-week terms, rotating them weekly with a check-in, check-out process, regular cleaning and troubleshooting support, and not to forget the unnecessary and the amount of batteries we have spent on just charging our MetaQuest in itself. But as we have implemented these immersive tools, we were careful to track that what was working and what challenges were coming up every time we were using them. One of the biggest takeaways is that students remained or to have a very stronger connection to the course material, and they weren't just reading or viewing content, they were basically experiencing it. So there's a big engagement aspect to it. That being said, as Marco said as well, there were some early adoption challenges, mostly getting around the hardware, navigating the new platforms, and we did see a good amount of improvement after the initial hiccup stage, which lasted around 15-20 minutes because the students are distracted with new technologies. They are thinking of it as a game, a kind of a distraction. But initially, after the 15-20 minutes, they reported a better engagement and better traction to it. Students also showed a higher motivation in immersive settings, which we captured through our pre and post surveys, reflected in the classroom participation levels. Like students were excited to come and use the VR headsets and use the spaces which we have created for them. On the logistics side, we managed headset rotation, offered troubleshooting support, and tracked engagement through multiple metrics, as stated before, like surveys and interviews. All of this will now be compiled in a data dissemination report, which will help inform next steps, which Max will talk about after, and broader the adoption strategies in itself. So over to you, Max.
Thank you, Jay. And I know we're over time, so I'll wrap it up quickly. As we move forward, our focus shifts from experimentation and to implementation and impact. So the next phase of this initiative is designed to ensure that the lessons learned from this pilot are not only documented, but also meaningfully applied across our institution. We have some ambitions, ideas that contingent of conversations with the academic leadership and the team to make sure everyone is aligned and everyone wants to move in that direction. But some of those ideas will want us to start with formal research report. So we will synthesize all the findings into a document that will be shared internally with academic leadership, program chairs, to help shape future investments and inform our broader technology strategy. We plan to offer faculty training sessions, toolkits, and playbooks for anyone or to anyone who is interested in this type of technology, in emerging technology. We'll also be developing proposals to apply immersive formats to more courses in both Bachelor of Interior Design and liberal arts programs, if the programs are interested in applications. And so far, the feedback and the conversations were quite positive. On the academic front, of course, we're aiming to broader dissemination, whether it's conference presentations, peer-reviewed articles, and opportunities to co-authorship with our amazing faculty collaborators. And then finally, and most excitingly, we are opening the door to student-led innovation, giving students and faculty a chance to co-design their own VR learning experiences through special projects or capstones. This is just the beginning. We believe immersive learning can significantly enrich the student experience, and we're building this roadmap together. Thank you very much. Happy to take away questions. Feel free to reach out to any of the team members or to myself, and we will answer your questions later after today's conversation. Again, thanks and have a great day.
Thank you so much, Mark and team, for very interesting research. And please reach out to the team if you have any question or idea to share. Irene, are you ready to share your screen?
Yes, absolutely. What I don't know is that if we will have time.
Yeah, you have 20 minutes. No. So again, if we don't have time for question and answer, everyone please reach out to our faculties and speaker to share anything. Okay, we see your screen.
Yes, okay, so I cannot see you, so let me set the timer here. So, well, hello everyone. Thank you for being here. Sorry that I cannot see you, but I will try to make this as fast as possible. So thank you for your time, and I am happy to share here the research title, From Deficit to Contradiction, a chat-inspired model to support international students' success preliminary data. And probably you are asking, why are you doing research with international students? Well, two main reasons. First, I am a former international student. And second, I am teaching in my courses. The percentage of international students in my courses is really, really high. So the main idea, the main question that I have been trying to answer for many years, and now specific in this research, is how do international students learn at the boundary of different academic cultures? Because what happens with students is something like this. So they move from one academic culture to a new one. And when that happens, why I identify this amazing theory, the cultural historical activity theory, that focus on this idea, in the idea that when you have two different activity systems, in this case, two academic systems, when they go together and enter into contact, they produce contradictions. And I was so curious about this idea, because when we think about contradictions, we tend to think about contradictions in terms of issues, or this is something that we should not talk about, or something that is negative. But in this theory, when we talk about contradictions, we are talking about opportunities. But the big point with contradictions is that contradictions are not visible. You cannot see contradictions, but you can observe the manifestations of the contradictions. So it was my second point in my research. The first was solve theoretical framework, CHAT, cultural historical activity theory. But how? How will I make the contradictions be visible? So identify the strategy, the methodology to be used was key in this research. And I decided to use a DBR, design-based research, that is a very well-known research in education. And the reason why I decided to use this one is because I wanted not only to know more about how students learn at the boundaries, international students learn at the boundary of two cultures, but also I wanted to help students and also to listen to students' voices. So any solution, any implementation that was created includes students. And I thought, well, this DBR is the best methodology that I can use. This is the design, but no worries. I am only going to focus on the green parts. So to share with you what I did. And yes, in terms of the research questions, the DBR allows you to use more than one research question. But again, my main point is to answer the question, how do international students learn at the boundary of two academic cultures? And of course, if this is the question, the best students to intervene, I mean to implement the intervention was in the first term. So I have some conversations with the Dean of Business, and we decide to use Introduction to Business to implement the intervention, because Introduction to Business could be difficult for some international students. This is a course in the first term. So the intervention took part, started in winter, and it was from January to March, and the intervention was in the 11 weeks of the term, and we joined the classes 5 times. Let me show you. So imagine this. We have a classroom full of international students, 30 international students, and the classroom were organized, the 30 students, with 6 mentors, because we have mentors at the university. So we use mentors, and we organize 6 students with 1 mentor. And this is how the working session looks like. So let me show you. Imagine we use one of our flex rooms. So imagine this room full of students, 30 students in each of the table, 6 students with the mentor, the professor, myself, and two research assistants. And the idea of that, I organized this with the professor, and the idea was that we will be inside the classroom 5 times. So we decide the weeks, and in each class, the professor will, well, perform a learning activity, an assignment, whatever the professor decide, we did that. And we asked the professor that, well, during the sessions, the mentors will help students to complete the assignment, but not to do the assignment, just to complete it. And at the same time, we will ask the students, each student, to complete a step-by-step assignment guideline. So showing us the steps that they think that they should, follow in order to complete the assignment. So this is in very, very fast track what we did with the intervention. What I will show you is the data, and the data is based on one survey that we applied, 2 focus group, a version of the step-by-step assignment guideline, 63 hours of audio, more than almost 2,000 pages of transcript that they are all analyzed following the thematic analysis of Brown and Clark. And well, all the data is based on this, okay? So I use 2 analytic frameworks. The first level is to identify the contradictions, because this was one of my hypotheses, that it's not deficit what students face when they enter into contact with a new culture. They are contradictions. But if the contradictions are there, well, I need to see them, yeah, in order to help students to understand and overcome the events that can cause the contradictions. The second level, that is not the one that I will share with you, is how the contradictions evolve in the 5 iterations, okay? So, but in this, right now, we will focus in level 1, that is the identification of the contradiction. Well, guess what? Based on Chad Engerson theory, you can identify 4 different types of contradictions. Well, we were able to identify the 4 different types of contradiction. Here is the activity system that is the base of the theory. So the primary contradiction that we identified in one of these elements, it was related to assignments, because in this one, the assignments for international students, they understand assignment as a product, but not as a process. And I will go into this, all of this. The second contradiction is between components, okay? And in this one is collaboration as knowledge building is not cheating. They were confused. If I help you, is that cheating or is collaboration? The tertiary contradiction is about APA as an epistemological frame, not just as a format. And I will go later with that. And the quaternary contradiction was academic engagement is conflicting with looking for a job, okay? So these are the 4 contradictions. So let's go with the first one, the primary contradiction, again, in one of the elements. And we use the step-by-step assignment guideline. I know nothing is in the page, was on purpose by design. We asked students, what do you think you need to do to complete the assignment? Well, as you can imagine, this part was not that useful. So we, and I will use we, because this is a collaborative research. So mentors help, professors help, I help, students help. So after that, we designed this. This is a step-by-step assignment guideline with all the details that we identify students need. And this is the last one. Many, many more details. These are based on students' need. So at the end, what we have here is that the instructions were not enough. So we built a boundary object, an object that is a cultural artifact, because allow international students to look at the other side of the culture. So with this, imagine that someone asks you to prepare a dish, but they only give you the ingredients, but not the recipe. So the boundary object is like a recipe that allows students to see what they are asking, what they have been asking for. And we asked students, what did the students say about the step-by-step assignment guideline? Well, look, they love the idea of having the step-by-step assignment guideline. And they said, you know what? I am used to taking exams, but not to doing assignments. And that's why they see the assignments, the They saw the assignments as a product, but not as a process. And well, let me move to the secondary contradiction, and is in between components. So collaboration is not cheating. And here it was really, really interesting because students at the very beginning, one of the first iterations, they said, and also the mentors, they said, may I help them? Can I help them? Or is this cheating? And one of the mentors wrote, can we help them by showing how to do it? So it was not clear what collaboration is and what cheating is. And again, the interaction between the mentors and the students took time to build trust. It's not something that is instantaneously. It took time, and it was related to having certainties about what the assignment was asking for. And here again, so more elements that make us think that the students really, really like the peer mentor support, but also the idea of looking for support in the future was there. But it took time. I was that this will be instantaneously, you put together students and they will be best friends ever in a couple of hours. No, this is not what happens. It took time. Tertiary contradiction is in between one of the elements. In this case, a new rule was introduced, that is the APA. But here we notice that we have been teaching APA as a format, when APA should be taught like as an epistemic frame, because it's something that allows you to create knowledge. And this is something that probably in the future we can talk more. Let me go fast because we have only 2 minutes. So in terms of the tertiary contradiction, it's also interesting how students understand APA as a mandatory format, because they don't know how to use it. They prefer to use ChatGPT as a shortcut. The final contradiction is related to how one system, that is being a student, interfere with neighbor systems that is looking for a job. So and here it was really it was difficult to listen to students sharing with us that I want to be here, but I need a job. And here one of the students, the only one that I will read, is one of the mentors said, it's like students is here, but only the body, because their mind is in a different place. When we ask students, they say, yes, we are looking for a job. We need a job. So at the end, we asked students, did you like the intervention? Did the intervention help you? And they said, yes, absolutely. It was fantastic. Conclusions. So yes, it's not deficits, it's contradictions. More than that, the contradictions are academic contradictions, social contradictions, epistemic contradictions, and economic contradictions. For institutions that want some recommendations, well, integrate boundary objects in the first year will be fantastic. Designing peer mentor workshops where collaboration is open and never assumed as a concept that we all agree. Also teaching APA as an epistemic frame, and help students in the career service department to find jobs. And because I know that this is the first the inaugural presentation, I wanted to share that my study is a line of research that have been taking place for the last 7 years. And I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to the SSFI, because as you can see here, many of my research have been sponsored by the SSFI, and well, now happy to answer any questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Irene. Just want to share with everybody that I had a chance to listen to this research for the long version, and it was so amazing to hear more detail about her research. So if you have any question, if you want to discuss further with Irene about the topic, please reach out to her. So we have about 4 minutes left. Anyone have any questions for Max and Irene, please turn on your mic and then our camera to discuss with our faculties. Okay, I share a form in the chat. So if you have any questions, and then to share with Irene and Max, please fill out the form, or you contact our faculties directly. In the form, I also ask your reflection or some key takeaways you have from these studies that may inform or resonate with your current teachings or maybe your research. Please share with us. We would love to hear. I will share the recording and then some key takeaway from our section to other attendants. Thank you everyone for your time and then your commitment to especially Max and Irene for amazing study that taking place at Yorkville University with a very strong objectives to improve teaching and learning, enhancing student outcomes. I want to say congratulations for your research, and I'm sure everybody had a great time learning from your research too. Um, okay, we have Dina here. Thank you, Dina, for attending our section. Okay, we have 3 minutes left. Anybody want to share something with our faculties? I see from question and A, we have one question here. Let me see. Okay, Jenny asked to share the slides. Yes, we will share the slides from both studies through email. And later, when we have the official website for academic research, the future events, research series, resources from the series, like the slide and the recording will be uploaded to the website too.
Yes, and if may I, Wendy, hi Wendy, thank you. Thank you. I know that you have always been there, and thank you for that. Yes, using the methodology, the research base is an enormous task, and I am happy. I am happy that I did that, because this idea that you can see what happens in the real work and you can improve it, and was fantastic. I feel really comfortable with that now, and I am looking for a next iteration, not as part of my doctoral, but as a follow-up of this, because now I know more. Now I know that the boundary objects are really, really interesting things. I mean, I never imagined this idea of, having the ingredients and having the recipe. And it was so amazing with it. I mean, the students told us I should have used we instead of I, because this was a collaborative work. When the students shared with us, but what do you mean by presentation? Oh, okay. So we start creating together this recipe that now is a boundary object, and it was like magic. I know that it's not magic. I mean, it's creating the learning spaces and designing the learning spaces in a different way. But it was fantastic. I think that we have a lot of things to learn from this, and well, we'll see if I receive fundings, I will move to a next iteration.
Okay, I just see a hand from Native. Thank you, Aaron. Okay, Native, you can unmute now.
You are mute.
Sure, I can speak now, I guess. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to make this quick comment about increasing the duration of these meetings. These were wonderful research studies. I mean, I was so excited to ask so many questions, but I just realized that, time is too less. I'm certainly going to reach out to you, Irene and Maxim.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I do have ideas in my mind, but I thought, let's respect time frame.
Yeah, thank you so much for that feedback. I will take it into consideration. and the purpose for this event, not only for the faculty, for the staff and the students to share the research, but also to continue the research dialogue and also foster collaboration. So after the section, I'm so happy to see that Najib has some idea and when reach out to the faculty for future collaboration. So maybe we will make it like 75 minutes so we have more time for deeper conversation. I love like real and direct conversation instead of just sharing question and answer. So maybe we see some update for the future events. And okay, we it's 3 p.m. now. If you have to run for any other meeting, please feel free to leave. And if any of you have other question or reflection or anything to share with Max or Irene, you can stay for another 10 minutes. I think people will, we are happy to continue our talk today. And thank you so much, everyone, for coming and then supporting our faculty and also engaging in Yorkville research community.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. And thank you, Wendy, to just